ready here. Tissues, because I'm a crier. And let me start my clock here. It went off to something weird. Sorry. There, start. Hi, everybody. My name is Diane A. and I'm a grateful member of the Worldwide Fellowship of Al-Anon and Al-Anon. Thank y'all so much for having me. Thank you, Lee, for asking me. I hope y'all will be as grateful as I am to be here. I know for me, it's lovely seeing all these women out here. And I love women's conferences because I feel like you get me. And also I want to thank the committee that I know what it takes to put these things on, and it's a lot. And so thank you. Everybody's already said that, but there's so many I want to take care of. You know, Maggie for calling me and being on top of asking if I need anything. And also Sam came from Eureka Springs, or from Bentonville, Arkansas. I met her just a few months ago, and we convinced her to come to Girl Stock. We said, you're going to love it, come on, and stuff. And so she's been my little roommate, and it's been great to have somebody like support there. Also, whoever made the basket, goody things, thank you. Everything is appreciated, and I'm going to be, I've already been into it and stuff, but I appreciate that. The speakers, last of all, Tammy kicked it off, and I thank you. I couldn't have done it as exhausted as you were. It was a great kickoff, and April loved your story, and then Deborah today. You know, I've never met Deborah, but, you know, I'm Al-Anon, but I'm just like y'all. It's, you know, we heard a long time ago that, you know, Al-Anons are we're Team Xerox. With the dry copy, we just don't get the alcohol part. I've got all those defects, all that insecurity, all that stuff. I'm just like you. I just don't get why y'all drink. But, because that doesn't do the same for me that it does for y'all. It puts me in a whole worse place, I think. So, I know y'all don't get it, and I don't get that, but I love all these speakers, and I'm looking forward to spammer. I'm looking forward. I know Georgia and Nancy and Mari. Oh God, y'all got such a lineup, and I've never heard Lisa, and I'm really excited to hear her too, Lisa Lee, tomorrow. So. Wonderful lineup, and I'll be really grateful in about an hour that this is done. So I see here, people say name, sobriety date. I don't have a sobriety date. I did come into the rooms of Al-Anon in 1990, in the spring of 1990, and I've not found it necessary to leave. Everything keeps happening to me. I've never taken, any kind of sabbatical or break. There's always been reason to come back and to stay in the rooms and stay active. Now, for me, I know we do our home groups a lot of times, but in Nashville, I've got a meeting I go to every day of the week. And those are my home group. I take from those groups, and I want to give back to those groups. So if you're in Nashville, there's one Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, too. And there's one Sunday, but I don't usually get to go to that one. But, I've got home groups. I participate in that group, all those groups. I do service work with those groups, and they're very important because otherwise I'm just a taker. And I did that all my life before I came in these rooms, and y'all taught me differently. So I'm just so grateful to be here, and I'm going to get through and let y'all go to lunch soon, hopefully. Anyway, I'm from a very large family. I was born and raised in Nashville, still there. There's 12 children. I'm number 8 out of 12. The oldest, the youngest, are spread of 12 and a half years. So it's, 8 girls, 4 boys. I'm a twin. They're 2 sets of twins. I've got a sister, a fraternal twin. it was always fun. We had a great time growing up. There was always a playmate. When I had kids, it was like, oh, you've got to ask friends to come over. That's just not what we did. They were us, and the whole neighborhood was at our house, or we were at somebody else's house. It was a great time to grow up. My parents worked hard. My mom was always a stay-at-home mom, of course, and my dad worked and provided for us. We didn't have any really needs that weren't fulfilled, and it was. We fought. We played. My dad would come home from work. He drank. He drank to relax. He would come home. He taught us how to make his drink. He'd have one or two. I never saw him drunk. I don't know if he was drunk or not. I never noticed him. He just would take one, have a drink to relax. My mom did not really drink. She was like me. And, I do drink, so I don't want to say I'm some big holy thing. I do take a drink or whatever, but I have one and that's it. My mom was like that. If she had two, she'd get silly. And I do too. So I don't do that. And she would only drink at like parties, weddings, birthdays, which was a lot. We had a lot. But it was rare that she would ever have a drink by herself. Or even when my dad drank, it was always, Dad came home, plopped himself down, we gave him his dinner, we gave him his food, his drink, and we were set. So I grew up, alcohol was fine. No bad consequences. I have 3 older brothers, 1 younger brother, and they would party. They loved to party. My brothers would have like beer parties or whatever when they were older. And my older brother's 8 years older, so I got to see some of those parties in high school that he had as a younger child. But I never saw anybody. Everybody seemed to be having a lot of fun. Alcohol was about relaxing and having fun. And so when I went through high school, we had fraternities and sororities. And there was always drinking. It wasn't legal, but it was always drinking. And I was one of those people that I was a rule follower up until a point, I used to say, I didn't ever break any of the rules and stuff, but I did. Looking back, you have to look at your inventory, and there were a lot of times those little white lies, or I could justify and rationalize. Yes, anything and everything. I knew how to do that really well. I knew how to blame you for everything, and that's the norm. That's what we grew up with, and I took it on. And so, anyway, alcohol was fine. I was dating, and there was always alcohol involved. If there was not alcohol, when I'm looking back at all the boys that I dated or whatever, and the ones that I liked and I didn't like, the ones that I liked were the kinds that drank and had fun, because that's what you do. But the ones that I didn't really, popular, great guys, but there was no drinking involved, it was boring. There was just, what do you do when nobody's drinking, nobody's having fun? You go to the movies or whatever. That was about it. But so alcohol was one of those things that it turned out when I was 18. Alcohol was legal. It changed that year, which was fine. But I just didn't, do too much. I had some people, and the reason being, somebody, April, you talked about being a control freak. Well, al-anons are really the control queens or whatever it is. Because for me, I'm going to control my drinking because I've seen what it does. And I don't get it that alcoholics can be controlling, because you'd stop drinking if you could control it, right? But anyway, I'm such a control freak. I had one sibling in particular that, she would overshoot the mark, my husband calls it, and would get sick, would swear it off, and we'd babysit her and tell her what she did the night before and all that kind of stuff. And so she was my example of, Diane, if you have one too many, that's going to happen to you, and you're going to be embarrassed. You won't, that's me. I think, I'm worried about what you're going to think about me if I do whatever. And not to say that I didn't go there. Yes, I did. And a couple of times in college, I overshot that mark. And that's not fun for me. I don't know. I don't get it. But I wake up feeling so bad the next day. I don't like feeling like that. And So I don't, but I don't overshoot the mark that much anymore. No, I don't overshoot the mark. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, so high school was great, fun. I went to all-girls school, which was really fun. The all-boys school was across the street. I grew up in a religion that I was, going to be a good girl, because looking back on it, they put the fear of God in me. That, if I did any of those things, I was going to go to hell, and I did not want to go there. And I decided, I was going to be this good girl, and I was going to follow those 10 commandments and go to heaven. Okay, that was my goal in life. So everything I did, I acted out of fear. My motives were usually not the best, but my decisions were made because of fear. And I came in to college and started doing those outside issues and stuff that really came about in the 70s. And so I was participating. For me, I say a people pleaser is I'm going to do the drugs that you do and you provide me with, but I'm not going to go seek them out. But I'll do it with you because I want to be part of the crowd and stuff. It doesn't matter that I said I would never do those before. You could talk me into it because, I want to be liked. I want to be part of the crowd. I have all that insecurity too. And so going into college, my roommates were partiers, of course. And, I went to school, I wanted to be a teacher. And I decided, that I'd go into education and was doing pretty good, except for I was kind of not going to all those classes. Because school was kind of easy up until I got into college. And when I went to college, you actually had to study and stuff and do those things that I didn't have to do a lot in high school and elementary school. So I didn't do too good in the grade-wise. I was getting on probation. But I was still having a great time. It was talked about, I like to have a boyfriend ready before I leave this one. I've got to have somebody else kind of in the wings waiting. And if I found him, then I'd let go of him and whatever. So I was just bumping it up. I told my husband he was the best alcoholic I found. So I didn't know that at the time. I would not have maybe taken that choice, but he was most fun. And he knew how to have fun. But anyway, I met my husband, who was going to be my husband at the time. We started dating my second year of college. I was up in Knoxville and he was in Memphis, so it was kind of a long distance. A mutual friend introduced us, and as soon as we had our first little date, that spring break, we were off and running. And that's kind of what I do. I take off. I can go to, I've met you, we're getting along. Guess what? We're going to be married and have kids and a white picket fence and everything. I've just got it all planned out, because why would you not want to marry me and have a great, we'd have a great family and all this stuff. And I just went there. But anyway, after a few months of dating, he was coming back to Nashville to work because he was finished school and he was going to work for his dad. And, I decided, well, I've got to be in Nashville too. If he's going to be there, I can't leave him there. That's like 3 hours away, and I don't do the long distance stuff very well. So I decided we were in love anyway. We'd known each other for a couple of months. And so that would be, it would be fine. So I end up, I'm going to make me look really good, okay? And everything I do is for your benefit, okay? At least that's what I'm telling myself, and I'm telling you too. And so I tell my parents, that I'm going to quit school. Now, I'm number 8, and I'm the only one that ended up quitting. Now, I'm not. The ones down the past to me did too. But at number 8, I said, I'm going to come home. I won't go to college. You won't need to pay for me anymore. And I'll get a job. You won't have to support me. I'll be taking care of myself. One less for you to take care of. Now they didn't ask for any of this. They never complained about going college, was a problem or anything. And I don't remember them saying, "Don't go to college." It was just okay. That, they let me do what I was going to do. And so I quit and went to work for my dad because I told him I could run his office. And I did. Al-anons are really good managers. We can do a whole lot of that multitasking stuff. And I did. I literally, I told him, his secretary taught me what I needed to learn. And back then, I knew everything. And I knew I could learn it very quickly. The older I get, the less I know, guys. I don't know how I did it all back then. But I did. I just started working for his office and taking care of everything there, dating my husband. And we were off and running. It was great. He had a job. He had an apartment. I had an apartment. Well, I moved in with the girl that introduced us because I decided I couldn't be with my parents anymore because I moved in with them, and they had these things called rules that if you lived in their house, you had to follow their rules. Well, see, I'd already been to college 2 years. I'd been on my own. The curfew thing was out of, we didn't have to do that last year. And then moved back home with Mom and Dad, and they were like, nope, you got to come home at a certain time. So I'm like, okay, I've got money. I'm going to move into an apartment where I can do what I want to do and have fun, which I did. And it was great. We were having lots of fun. It was great having a job, having my own money, working hard, playing hard on the weekends. And after, we dated for 2 years. And during those 2 years, Deborah talked about it, those red flags green. I could paint red flags green in a heartbeat. Just no time at all. I'd see a red flag up, pop up here and there, and I'd talk to myself and figure out what was going on. Then I'd question him about, hey, I saw this, da-da-da-da. He'd explain it away, and why would he lie to me? And I was just wrong, And that was fine. Everything was going to be fine. But you know what? Really, you got to get them to marry you. Then it's really going to be fine. Once they marry you, they won't do any of that stuff anymore. But after a couple of years of dating, he came to me and he said, we're through. Yeah, really? What? Why? I mean, I didn't know anything was wrong. And he said, we're just through. And I was like, okay. Well, see, there's a little bit about me with revenge, maybe, or what is it? I'll show you kind of attitude or whatever. So he broke up with me, but he wouldn't tell me why. Now, get this, when he first started hearing me say this from the podium, he was like, I never really told you why. I was like, no, and for me, I never asked why. He was going to marry me. I didn't need to. But anyway, he said it was because I was controlling him too much, or I was managing him too much. Really? That's the reason? That's what I thought you were supposed to do. I was raised with Mom took care of everything. Everything. I have a lot of siblings, as you know, 4 that are younger than it. And we were to take care of everybody. We were supposed to fix things. You got in trouble if you didn't take care of this. It wasn't for them to fix. I was the older sister or whatever, and you were supposed to fix things. So that's all we did. That's all I did, was always, if something's wrong, fix it. No problem. Did I know how to fix it? No, but I could pretend I did and try anyway. Sometimes it lucked out, I got it. But anyway, so we broke up. And so I moved in with another lady that was even a more partier. And that sibling that I told you we would babysit after she'd had too much, she moved in with me too. 3 of us. And I mean, the party was on every weekend. And so my husband and I were broken up, but we decided to remain friends. And without benefits. That's another hook, but I wouldn't go there. And so I make sure, because he liked to party. Imagine that. He's in your program. And I would always tell him, hey, there's a party this weekend at the apartment. Bring your friends, whatever. We'll be partying. And I would always make sure I had a date. And he would always bring his guy friends. So that was perfect, because I could play that little game of, hey, come on in, but I don't see you, and you see me having a great time with this other person and stuff. And I did not do this on purpose. Guys, it's just intuitive. Something about it was just happening through me. Looking back, I saw it, but not at the time. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That was a long time ago. But anyway, so he'd always be there, and he didn't have girlfriends, but I always had boyfriends. And so I stayed out of the picture with him and all, just other than we were having a party, this is happening, and we would be friends. Well, a year later, he had to have his wisdom teeth pulled. And when they did that, they put him on all the drugs. I say it was truth serum they put him on. And he had his office manager who took him to the oral surgeon to have his wisdom teeth out. He had him take him to the thing, and when he took him back home, he gave him my number to call, because he said, he had to get back to the office and take care of the office while Mike was, sorry I gave his name, but he was recuperating from having these wisdom teeth out, because he was pretty out of it and his family wasn't around. So he said, call Diane. Here's her office number. So he calls me and says, Diane, this is George. Mike's had his wisdom teeth out. Can you come take care of him? Can I come take care of him? Can an al-anon take care of anything? Pre-al-anon, sorry. So I go to my dad and I say, I'm going to go, Mike's had his teeth out. I've got to go take care of him. He goes, didn't y'all break up a year ago? That's not it. He called me. He called me to come take care of him. And see, that's the al-anon call, y'all, is I need you. He needed me to come take care of him. And I knew I could take care of him. So I go over and I tell my dad, I've got an hour for lunch. I'll be back in an hour. Let me go get him situated with his friends, and I'll be back. So did that, went to take care of Mike, and he goes, he can't talk, so he's writing it all out. I love you. I want you back. Come move in with me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I know you're out of it, and that's kind of a problem right now, but I'll be back later. Maybe we'll talk later, and I'll bring you some dinner. So I finish work, go home to my apartment, fix him dinner, and I have to tell my boyfriend who's living with me at the time, I'm going to go take Mike dinner. He's had his wisdom teeth out, and he needs me to take him dinner. I'm totally innocent. I'm just taking him dinner. I'll be right back. And he wasn't happy about that. And I didn't quite understand. He didn't get that I was just going to take him dinner. And so he said, if you go, I won't be here when you come back. Hey, girls, it's the easiest breakup I've ever had to do. I wasn't going there, but when I came home, he was gone. See, you don't give me an ultimatum. That's not a good choice, because I'm going to run with it every time, and I dare you. Let's just wait and see. Yes, we're sick too. And let's just say I'm sick too. I can't say anybody else. So anyway, we get back together. Imagine that. Because it was just a year we were apart, and he wanted me back. And so he asked me to move in with him. I did. And my mom kind of gets wind of it somehow. I think what it was is that we didn't have caller ID back then, and you didn't have cell phones. I would answer his phone in the morning. Oops. When his mom would call. Oops. And she was such a sweet little angel. She never said anything, but I think she may have said something to my mom, because somehow my mom got wind of it and called me over and said, Diane, I have a question to ask you. I said, what? And she goes, are you living with Mike? And I went, well, you asked me. I figure, So, yeah, I am, because we were broken up a year. I don't know if we can get together, if it's going to work out. I want to know if I can live with this man, because, of course, in my head, we're going to get married. So I'm not saying that to my mom, but my mom's answer was, well, he'll never marry you now. He doesn't need a piece of paper. And I'm like, well, this is the 70s. I mean, like the little hippie and love, everything's beautiful, all that peace. I was going to be fun. That's kind of where I was when Mike and I broke up the first time. I was in I used to say, Que sera, sera was the song. What will be. So if we got back together, we'd get back together. If we didn't, I'd find another hymn. Because I did have spirituality. I was brought up in a religion that gave me values and morals and stuff. Even though I acted out of fear, following all those rules, I'm so grateful that I had them. And I didn't know. I really believe there was something out there that had good intentions for all of us, and that if I just kept kind of following that path, I would be okay, and I would find the right one, and or he would find me, or whatever it was, or whatever it is. I just had faith that it was going to be okay, and I'm grateful that I had that upbringing that gave me that. Now, when I went to college, I left that church. I left everything because I started doing those things that I said I wasn't going to do, and so you don't go to church, because then you don't have to report it. So. Like God doesn't see what's going on if I don't go to church. But anyway, it was just a wonderful time. I loved the 70s. It was great. I loved the 60s. It was all fun. But anyway, after a couple of months, he was doing some more of those extra outside issues, and he asked me to marry him. Actually, it was 49 years yesterday. We will be married 49 years in August. So thanks to this program and y'all's program. Anyway, so he asked me to marry him out of the blue, and it surprised him too. It literally just came out, and it shocked me. We had not planned it. It was not one of those, let's plan all this thing and take pictures of it. But we got married 3 months later. It was that easy and quick. You didn't have to have a long planned out thing. We came home, and I said, he asked my dad for my hand in marriage, and my mom was, all's well, And I know my mom was acting out of fear for me and trying to protect me, because it was kind of like I had to stay away while we were just living together, because talking to some of my older sisters after my mom's long gone, I found out, how she tried to protect them and was protecting me from the things that they experienced growing up, from living with all that stuff. She was just trying to protect me, and she cared about me that way. I just thought she was being, conditional love and all that kind of stuff. But it was, she loved me like a mom, and she wanted the best for me. So anyway, we got married 3 months later. So, of course, that fixes everything, There's no more red flags going to happen, we're going to be happily married, and we're going to have kids. I wanted 6 kids, and, when you come from 12, 6 is small. Now, he came from 2 older sisters, and he's the baby boy, and we had 2 boys, and that was it after 2. But life was good. We had jobs. We partied a lot. Of course, I stopped doing any of the outside issues and stuff because I decided I was going to be a mom and I was going to take care of the kids. And I loved, I didn't get to be that teacher, but I did get to work in a school all my life. So I got to follow that dream. But what it was is that I loved kids. I've loved children. I've loved babies. I've gotten to be blessed to take care of other people's babies and stuff. And when I had my first son, after about 3 years, it was great. Now, the problem with that is Mike's alcoholism started to progress, and he was very stressed out. He had going through stress, anxiety. So, of course, the doctors give him pills for stress and anxiety. Now, they may have told him you're not supposed to drink on those things, but I don't think he heard that because the drinking never slowed down, But there's behaviors started happening. There was those Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde things going on, some crazy behavior here and there. And I just kind of, it was like I was in a separate little world all to myself with my children. It was me, and I was home with the boys. I had another son 3.5 years later. And that's kind of when things really were starting to get a little bit crazy. Now, see, when I see crazy, it's okay. Crazy's okay. I've seen it before. But I'm supposed to be the responsible one. And so I'm taking care of these kids, and I'm starting to take over more and more. And I'm just trying to take care of these boys and take care of my husband and make sure he's not stressed or anxious. I get involved in all those things that to distract myself from what's going on at the house, because I can be the room mom at school. I can be the church Sunday school teacher. I can be this chair of that fundraising thing at school. I can be the den mom for, scouts. All those things. I got really, really busy. And Al-Anon, we have a book, when I got busy, I got better. That's if you get busy in the program. I found out I got really, really busy outside of any program and just was pushing the marriage, everything aside, and not looking at that, because this looks so good. And we look so good on the outside. We were just the perfect family. Teachers would say, those kids are the best kids and stuff. They're great. And I thought, I'm glad you're not at my house, because I'd rather have them not, behave in my house and behave outside than reverse, And so I was just making everything look really good. I learned to cook great gourmet meals. I was clean house. You came in, good at whatever it else he wanted, and all those things to keep him happy, because that was my job. I was supposed to keep you happy. My mom did that to my dad. The problem is, I didn't know that people can get angry. I didn't know it was okay for those other emotions to come up, because I remember as a child growing up, if I got angry or something, I kind of got in trouble. I remember just getting that message, whether it was told or not, you don't get angry. My nickname growing up was Smiley. So I had to have a smile on my face all the time. I had to fulfill that image of what you thought of me. And I'm always smiling. And it's just, if I can keep you happy, everything's going to be great. Keep the kids happy. Do all those things. Well, I was playing the games that, I called him all during, work a few times a day to see who was coming home. Was it Dr. Jekyll or was it Mr. Hyde? I didn't know. And so I would, have dinner ready for him if it was, he was in a great mood. We'd have family dinner. We'd have family game night. It was great. If he was coming home stressed or anxious and had a hard day, kids would be fed. They'd be off watching the TV or doing something in their rooms, and I would serve him his deal, and we'd have a little quiet dinner with him. So I could figure out how to do that. I could take care of everything. But he kept doing some things that were really kind of nutsy, if you know my husband's story. And it was like I went dumb or something. And it was like, well, that's normal. No, it wasn't normal. It was crazy. Talk about crazy things. I kept thinking, I don't know if you do that or not, but, I'm a good wife. I'm a supportive wife. That's what a supportive wife does. I don't question him. I support him. Because, see, I found out if I questioned him, by the end of the conversation, those red flags and stuff, whatever, and I'd question him about, why were you doing that? Or why did you come home late? Or what? Things were starting to not make sense, and I could ask him about it, and he could explain it away. And so I would always apologize at the end of that conversation, because I was just ungrateful. He was working hard, and he had to work extra hours those late nights and all those things. And it was like, I got to the point of I did figure out the more I confronted him, the more I was apologizing so I don't confront. It was easier just to stuff it away. Stuff it away. It'll go away if I stuff it away. He becomes suicidal. I've got little kids at the house. He's on medications. I'm really walking on eggshells now, because I don't want to come home to that, because I don't know what I'm going to come home to if he's in a bad place. It scared me to death. So everything I did is, try to manipulate and make sure everybody's doing good and we look good and he's good, and just crazy. And I thought I was the one that was going crazy. But see, I didn't grow up with, you go see a doctor, therapist, counselors, none of that stuff. You fixed it yourself. You took care of yourself. And so when I start thinking I'm going crazy, it was like, okay, maybe there's something going. Maybe all this alcohol that we're drinking, and it wasn't a lot. I just want to tell you that we were social drinkers. Did we drink every day? Of course, but social drinkers drank every day. My dad did, and he was fine. So having a glass of wine or whatever at night, or him having his drink or me having a drink, that was normal. But, his parents started acting out a little bit, doing some behaviors that we determined were alcoholic. But see, the alcoholic is a bum in the street. We were just having a little over-drinking, a little bit of thing. And we just need to slow it down. Just tame it down a little bit. So I would say, let's stop drinking for a while. Let's see if that's a problem, because we know your parents are having some issues with the drinking, and maybe it's hereditary, and let's just stop for a while. Now, see, I'm not an alcoholic, so let's stop for a while was no big deal for me. But for him, he needed something to take the stress, the anxiety away. So the pills the doctors gave him were perfect, but a few extra ones that other people gave him were, on top of those, because he needed something to calm down. The alcohol did it for him, and if he didn't have that, he needed something else. And so I kind of didn't see all those other things going on. But anyway, I did those little tests with him all the time. He stopped drinking. It's not alcohol. So try to figure it out. What else is it? Maybe it's that other outside issue that he's doing. You need to slow down with that. You need to stop that for a while. Maybe you don't need to be doing that. And he tried every now and then, and he'd stop. And he stopped for a long time, one time like 8 months. And from the drinking, and was saying he felt so good and everything. But he went to a baseball game with my brother-in-laws, and which is a lot. There were 7 of them. And they were all drinking, because drinking's part of our family. And he ordered a water at the bar that they went to, and somebody sat down. Somebody had ordered him his usual drink that he hadn't had in 8 months, and he didn't even think about it. He hadn't been in AA. He didn't know about that first drink. He just drank it, and it was no big deal. He said, "God, that was good." And he said, "Well, I hadn't had that in 8 months." And he told the waiter to come on over. He says, "I hadn't had tequila in a few months. Would you get me a tequila and stuff?" And then he said, "Well, I hadn't had any beer in a while. Let me drink some beer." So by the time he called me that night, long distance, he was drunk. And then I thought, oh no, we're on that roller coaster again, that little roller coaster of trying to figure out what it is. Because I thought things were doing so good because he'd stopped for a while. And see, I was fine as long as he was fine. If he was sad, I was sad. If he was happy, I was happy. I took on that chameleon you talk about. That was me. I'm a chameleon to your emotions, everything that's going on. Anyway, things just kept getting, as getting worse and worse, and I was getting sicker and sicker, trying to figure out. And I thought, well, I was going to keep this marriage together no matter what. There were such walls in our house because, see, I grew up with my parents never fighting. So I didn't know how to fight. I didn't know how to argue. I didn't know how to have a discussion. Well, my dad said, a discussion is a sign of intelligence. An argument is a sign of ignorance or something. And so he would always discuss things. Well, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't get any of those tools. I just didn't pick them up. And now he grew up in a family where there was a lot of arguing and fighting because that alcohol was there. And he didn't want any part of that. So our house was one of those quiet houses where silence was the weapon, you know. Silence was total weapon. And so I would just, and for me it was stuffing and just thinking. And so it would come out at the kids. You know, the kids would do something, the anger would come out for them because that was safe. I could be angry with them. They're not going to divorce their mom. If I get angry with my husband, he might divorce me. And that was the fear I did not want. And so I would put up with pretty much anything to avoid that because I was going to keep this marriage together no matter what. Well, as you know, alcoholism just was getting crazier and crazier and crazier in my house. And he actually did something one day that was just pretty much insane. And he came and talked to me about it because I was his counselor, you know, pretty much. If he had something, he would come and discuss it with me, and I'd tell him how to fix it. It usually worked, but not all the time. Well, he came home this one day and told me this insane thing that he almost did, and I went, God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. I had nothing. I was like, that's crazy. You need to go see that counselor again, please, because this is really serious. And thank God I didn't know how to fix this. And so he went and saw a counselor, saw his therapist, or his doctor, and his doctor sent him to a therapist. The therapist sent him to a addictionologist, imagine that, who finally figured it out. And sent me a form, and I had to fill it out and go to his office with him, and he had to fill out this form. And at the end of the short visit, I don't think it took very long for him to figure it out, he came out and he said, well, it's real simple. He said, he's an alcoholic. You know what? That was my answer. That's all I needed to know is what was wrong with him so that I could fix it and go on. I said, so what do I do? And he said, pack his bags. I was like, no, I need him at home. I've got 2 boys getting ready to be teenagers, and I need him at home. I'm not packing his bags. You know, I'm going to keep this marriage together no matter what. Anyway, so they sent him off to treatment, outpatient, and they had a family week, and I'm so grateful they did, because in that family week, they told me what enabling was. See, enabling, the dictionary for me, was I'm being helpful. I'm helping. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm helping him. And helpfulness is the sunny side of control, I heard. And in a meeting, and I actually wrote it in my book for those good, wonderful quotes that you hear, but I thought it was a compliment. I thought that was good, that I was sunny side of control. There's a good side to control, right? No. So anyway, they tell me, get to al-anon, and had me sign a piece of paper. I'm a person of commitment. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to be there. And I put it on a piece of paper, so I thought you could check up on me. And so I went to al-anon. They gave me my One Day at a Time book. And I'm so grateful they did, because I went to those meetings. The first one was not a newcomer meeting, and I thought everybody was sick there, because they told me they were. And I didn't, see, there wasn't anything wrong with me. They hadn't pointed out anything with me. They hadn't said I had any part in this. And so I went to these al-anon meetings. They told me about Alateen. I got my kids to go to Alateen and Alakid. And I found a meeting where they did newcomer meetings. And so they took me aside and with some others. And for 6 weeks, we did newcomer meetings. They explained the insanity and unmanageability. All those things I couldn't deny. Now, I had a higher power that I grew up with. And so that was easier for me to get used to. And we did those first 3 steps in those newcomer meetings. But see, I still didn't see any of my part in it. They hadn't done any of that for me yet. And so I started going there. The kids loved Alateen and Alakid. They said they were going to go no matter what. They had great friends. They met there, and they went all through high school. And it was great because as a family, we got to do that together. I went to Al-Anon, he went to AA, and the kids did Alateen. So we were becoming a recovery family. We talked the same language. And it was just so wonderful that those were available to us. But within about several months, I was going to those Al-Anon meetings because I kept figuring out, you're going to tell me how not, so he won't relapse. See, you're going to give me the clues on what to watch for and what to do and how to not enable anymore, but also, that he won't relapse. And see, because they hadn't said anything about me. Nobody did that. But I was fortunately that I went to those meetings and I did listen. And I heard things that I didn't think were pertaining at all to me, but I heard them. I started hearing people share about living with suicide and the fear. And I thought, whoa, I forgot about that. See, I stuffed that way down, that I lived with that fear. It was gone, I thought. I started hearing things. Y'all were laughing at stuff in the meetings when somebody would share something that I thought was a normal family behavior, and y'all burst out laughing, and I thought, maybe that's not healthy. I might need to look at this. And so I was starting to hear. And about 6 to 8 months in the program, he decided to drop a bomb on me and get rigorously honest without talking to his sponsor about some of his behavior. Those red flags that I saw, he got rigorously honest with me about that. And I'd already stuffed those away and turned them green. So for me, it put me at my bottom. I couldn't deny what I just really heard, what had gone on in my life, that in my marriage that I didn't know, that I saw but I didn't see, And, as people go, oh, that's what I needed. I needed that bottom. I needed something that would stop and make me go to that place where I was going to get involved in Al-Anon. I finally got a sponsor. See, Mike's counselor at the treatment center I was using as a sponsor, and she finally said, Diane, if you don't get one, I'm going to appoint one for you. And she gave me 3 names, and I loved one of those names. I knew that person, and so it was great. I got her. I started getting busy. I was only going to 1 meeting a week or something, or maybe 2, or maybe 1 every other week. I started getting more meetings involved. I started going because I was hurting for the first time, really hurting, and I couldn't deny reality. And I didn't know if the marriage was going to work. I really didn't. But see, I'd heard in these rooms where you can just live one day at a time. So I decided I'd stay in the marriage one day at a time. And I told him that. I said, this is one day at a time thing. I can't guarantee I'm going to be here tomorrow. But every day I'm going to wake up. And I'm going to ask myself if I can stay in this marriage, and I can see if he's getting better and he doesn't relapse. I said, if you relapse, I don't think I can. But gratefully, he never did relapse. But anyway, I started working the program. I started looking at doing those steps. I got to see my part in all this stuff, the manipulating, the controlling, all those sneaky little things, all my motives for the way I looked so good. And made it look good. Kids, we started doing pretty good because we were working the program. Everybody was working the program. We were getting better. And my youngest son, when he was in 8th grade, got caught with some weed in his shoe, and they kicked him out of public school. And this was about 10 years into the program for me, and I had a different sponsor at this time. And I decided I had to get him into school. 8th grade, he needed to graduate, at least 8th grade. And it was Christmas time, and I'd been complaining. I'd gone and interviewed. We'd gone into all the private schools. Nobody would admit him. And I was complaining to my sponsor about, what am I going to do? I think I just need to quit school. I need to, give them my notice. It's Christmas vacation, and they can get somebody else, and I'll just have to homeschool him. I was determined if I can't get him into school, a school, but see, it's me. I can't get me. I'm still trying to run the show myself. And she finally just said, Diane, let go and let God. And I was like, how's God going to get him in school? I've got to do the footwork. And she said, and you have. You've done the footwork, so just let go and let God. This was a Monday, and I just saying I'm very arrogant, and I said, okay, God's got till Friday. Because that was when the Christmas break was going to happen, and I needed to give him my notice by then. Well, of course, God showed up Thursday night, and I got a phone call from the Alternative Learning Center, had an interview Friday. We ended up going to that interview, and he was admitted to that school for a year, which I didn't think that was a school. I never interviewed over there because it's for the place where the kids that got in trouble. Imagine that he would go to a school that would get in trouble because, see, it really wasn't his. You know that. Denial. But anyway, so that was one of those things that was really good for me because I got to stop trying to run the show more and start giving God just a little bit. Because, see, God was supposed to just take care of the big stuff. I was supposed to take care of other stuff around me, my family, Nashville, all that good stuff. God's got bigger stuff to worry about. So I ended up, he went to that school, found out God was okay. He did a good job. My son got out, and, they actually gave him an award for least likely to come back. I thought that was great, but they were wrong. They missed that one. Anyway, life went on. We started going to keeping active, as I say, and never found a reason to quit al-anon. Teenage boys, all this stuff, and just myself trying to work on me. And, y'all gave me, I love that reading out of the... that was a God thing, by the way. Maggie asked me for a reading. I just happened to open the book and look and said, oh, I like this one. And so that's give it to God, and he'll show, because she was getting up to read, and I said, I don't remember what it said even, but it was perfect. And anyway, so God was still running the show, and I was trying to step back. Y'all taught me how to hands off. Trust the process, trust whatever. And within 3 years that my youngest son had turned 18, and he was wanted to move out of school, out of the house. And this was between his junior and senior year. And because I was in Al-Anon, I got to let him go and wish him well. And said, it's either going to work or it's not. You'll figure it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you'll learn a lesson. There'll be something there. So, hands off, he's living with his other friend and going to school, and I'm not checking up on him. We're staying connected here and there and have dinner here and there. And Mike and I are at a conference, and we come back. This is in February, and he'd moved out in the summer, and my oldest son had gotten engaged that Thanksgiving, and he was in college and had said they were going to get married when he graduated college and all that stuff, which I thought was great because they hadn't known each other very long. I thought, good, long engagement, perfect. And so we come home from this conference. It was a 4-day conference. We were just there to listen to some great speakers. And when we did, both boys were at my house. And that was like, why are y'all here? And it's like, come on in and sit down. And we're like, you know what's coming. Something. And anyway, so we find out. The youngest one says, well, I got arrested Thursday night with 3 felonies and a misdemeanor and went to jail. And I'm like, oh, so you didn't call? And he said, no, you always told me if I got myself into trouble, I had to get myself out. And so that's not me. That was y'all. Y'all told him that. I don't remember it coming out of my mouth, but he said it did. So that happens all the time with God and me. And so he said, I said, so how did you get out of jail? And he goes, you're my brother. And so we're saving him a seat. But he took care and got him out. And so, because of this program, because of AA and stuff, and I had just listened to 3 speakers or 4 speakers at this conference. And, I think 2 of them had found AA in jail. And I thought, maybe he needs to go to jail. Maybe that's God's will for him. I don't know. I don't know what's best for anybody anymore. And so we got to, go and sit by him. He found the lawyer. We said, we don't have any lawyers for this. He found the lawyer. He took all his savings. We had him use all of his savings to pay the lawyer. He got on a 2-year probation, and he asked to move back home. And we didn't know he had dropped out of school. I didn't even know that. And so I said, you can come back home, but there's no drugs, no alcohol, and you're back in school. And so he agreed to that. He came and he went to, got his actually he graduated, summer school, and got his degree and started in a community college and lived with us for 2 years. At the end of that 2 years, he was gone to California, where he has been ever since, doing his journey. I have had to use this program on and on and on and on. And I'm so grateful that he's 2,000 miles away, or 3,000, whatever it is, because I know I would be in his stuff. I'm just, it's hard when they're there. And because of the program, I got to just, wish him well. And I knew he was sleeping in the car or sleeping or whatever, but I didn't know. There was part of me, because of this one day at a time thing, and I don't know what's best for anybody, I grieved the loss of my son back then, that he could die. I had to go there to be able to be okay and just to move on. That might be God's will too. I don't know. But I just found out my best way of taking care of my son is to love him, regardless of what he's doing. And we didn't break those ties. Every time I talked to him, I told him how much I loved him and that I was praying for him. And I knew God still had him and had something planned for him too. And he's been up, he's been down, he's still going through stuff right now. But he knows this program is here. He hasn't been drinking in almost 2 years now. And he said he's going to go pick up a 2-year chip. He's not in the program, but he's excited he hadn't done that in 2 years. But that's okay. I mean, I'm saving him a seat in my room too. He keeps finding the crazy ones. But, life is life. And I've just got to love him. And the oldest son, that February, that same year, it was a great year. Huh? That year he called us in February and says, how do y'all feel about being grandparents? We were excited someday. It would be great to be grandparents. And he's like, how about August? Okay, so my al-anon kind of slipped out the door real quick, and I had a little slip there and said, well, do y'all want to move the wedding up to the spring? And he's like, no, why? And I'm just a thought, And they got married when they were supposed to get married, when they had said they were going to get married, and my granddaughter got to walk down the aisle with them. And it was beautiful. We had a little girl. It was, prayer city. Y'all held my hand and his hand through all of this because they didn't have insurance. Oh, it was just crazy. It's one of those things, but thankfully there was somebody before me that had gone through it. And I've gotten to sponsor many a woman that has gone through it after me. I said, you know what? I think God had this plan for me because of you. You were going to go through it too. And so everybody has walked me through this. Now, that granddaughter was, it was a household full of guys in my house. So I was so excited to have that little girl. And I had the little girl room all done because it was just my husband and I at home. And so I got to have a little girl's room with the dolls and the purple wall, pink, flower, all that stuff that I never got to do. And we just had a great time. I got to keep that granddaughter at least one night a weekend, to where our kids could try to grow up. And because they were home and young and working hard, trying to make a living, and her mom was there too, and so the two of us kind of would fight over which day of the weekend we would have. And every spring break, every Christmas holiday, every summer break, she went on vacation with me because I worked in a school, so we had the same vacations and stuff, and just had a great relationship. Everything was wonderful. My son got married, he got divorced, he got married, he got divorced, and but because of the program and because of Alateen that he'd gone through, they happened like I've never seen them happen. They were calm, and they agreed on it and everything, and they co-parented and worked it out, and a system that's worked for them ever since. And they're friends today. And so, anyway, we loved going to all and supporting that grandchild. That's our only one that we have. And when she was going through high school and stuff, I would always take her we had a little consignment sale at my school, so it was really cute things. I'd always take her. We'd go buy all her clothes and stuff. And in high school, she started wanting to buy boys' clothes. So that's fine. Buy what you want. I don't care. And so I would take her to buy these clothes and stuff. And then she started cutting her hair like a boy, and that was fine too. Cute, whatever. And I figured if something's going on, she'll tell me eventually. It's up to her. I'm there just to support her. And when she was graduating high school, we were going to have a party at our house, and she came over and she said, "I don't want my name on the banner." And I said, "Oh, okay," because we were doing a little banner. My son was in a printing thing that he was going to print a banner. And I said, "Okay, why don't you want your name on the banner?" And she said, "Well, because that's not my name in high school. I've been going by a boy's name in high school. They know me as a guy, and it would be a little confusing when they see that name." And I'm like, "Okay." And he says, "Oh, and by the way, I'm going to college." He's going to college, and he said, "I'm going as a guy, and I'm graduating as a guy. In high school, I'm going to go walk in a guy's cap and gown." And I'm like, "Okay." And he goes, "And I'm going to be a trans man. I'm going to go through and have surgery before I go into college." And so he did. And my baby boy is calling me right now. I love you, but not now. So this granddaughter of mine is my grandson today. But it was like, that's fine. Why didn't you tell me? We've always supported and loved him. But I was glad he was going into college, not too far away. We were close, and we got to see him slowly go through his transition. And he was doing great, and then all of a sudden, COVID hit. And he couldn't do the online stuff, and he couldn't support himself in college because his parents said they weren't going to support him unless he was in college, and he had to get a job, and couldn't get a job. He couldn't do it. So he asked to come live with us, and he came home to Nashville, and his dad had already moved to California. His mom had gotten remarried and had a one-bedroom and didn't want to share it with them, and so we had an empty house. So he came and lived with us during COVID, which was really a blessing for me because I had a hard time with the pronouns. That's the hardest part for me, is the switching, and the name too, the name change. I was like, okay, just give me some grace here. I'm old, and I still call him by wrong names and all that. I'll call him my husband's name. I mean, it's just, I have a thing with names. I don't remember names, so forgive me if I don't know your name. So anyway, we got to have him there. And so for me, I got to see the transition and getting to be around him on a daily basis. And I mean, COVID, nobody went anywhere. And it was just a blessing for me because what I got to see and experience was that he was the same person that I held as a baby. Same person, just the outward appearances were changing, but everything he was still God's child. And I got to see and love him on a different level, and got to find out all through this, from walking into the rooms, acting out of fear every day, all day, to Al-Anon taught me how to start walking in love. And stop acting out of fear. Sure, fear comes up. I'm scared to death what's going to happen to prejudices and stuff with him. At the end of the 2 years he was with us, he moved out to Portland, and that didn't work out for a year. He's now in California, close to his dad, and that's okay. But he's just got to come home and spend 2 weeks with me. I just put him on a plane Thursday. which was so good for me to be with him and see he's okay. God's got this. When he's away, I'm scared to death. But I have to just keep giving him to God, keep letting go and letting God. That slogan is so important today for me, because I don't know what's best for anybody. I really don't, not even for me, other than I've just got to keep loving and loving and loving. That's my message, of anything. And I know my time is up here, and I think I've covered all the bases. But, I've got one reading that I read when I close, because it's what you guys have given me and how you've changed me, my transitioning from that scared little person. That reading what she read before, how I've changed, the insides have changed so much. And I really do believe that, that we're all spiritual beings and that God loves us all, and we are to carry that on to everybody else. But my reading that I like is August 6th out of our One Day at a Time book. This is the day which God has given into my hands. If I could only realize what a tremendous gift it is, I would use every moment of it to make my life more serene, more rewarding. I'm going to skip down to, I would notice interesting things, the expression on people's faces, a plant growing on my windowsill, the grace and charm of a child, an arrangement of clouds. Today there are wonders all around me if I will open my eyes and enjoy them. See, I never saw any of that stuff before. I was so worried. I lived in just such I was just blind. And Al-Anon has really opened up, and AA, I love your program. Thank you for sharing it with us. But it has really opened up my eyes to notice these things and see the beauty that's all around us. So with that, thank you. It's been an honor.